Picture this. You're a broke college student. It's 2 a.m., you have exactly 37 cents in your wallet, and somehow, inexplicably, you feel completely okay about dinner. That little brick of dried noodles sitting in your cabinet has your back. But here's what nobody ever tells you about that humble package. It has one of the most extraordinary origin stories in modern food history, and the journey it took to get into your cabinet stretches back centuries, crosses oceans, survived wars, and fundamentally changed how billions of people eat. Today, we're going inside the real story of ramen, not the Instagram version. The actual, messy, fascinating truth about how a survival food conquered the entire planet. Let's start with a question that ramen historians actually argue about. Where did ramen come from? You might assume Japan, since that's where we most closely associate it today. But the noodle itself traces its DNA back to China. Chinese wheat noodles arrived in Japan sometime during the late 19th or early 20th century, carried by immigrant communities and traveling traders. The earliest versions were humble street food sold from carts, cheap, filling, and barely noticed by mainstream Japanese society. Nobody wrote love letters about ramen in 1910. It was peasant food, background noise, the kind of thing you ate when nothing better was available. And honestly, that underdog status is exactly what makes what happened next so remarkable. Fast forward to the years following World War II, and Japan is in a state of devastation that's almost impossible to overstate. Cities flattened, agricultural infrastructure was destroyed. The country was genuinely struggling to feed its population. Rice, the cultural cornerstone of Japanese cuisine, was in critically short supply. Meanwhile, the United States was flooding the market with cheap wheat through aid programs, partly to support American agricultural interests. Street vendors, many of them operating illegally in black markets, started selling hot wheat noodle soup because it was available, it was affordable, and most importantly, it kept people alive. This is the moment ramen stopped being just food and became something with genuine emotional weight. It was warmth when there was very little warmth to be found. It was community gathered around a steaming bowl in the middle of rubble. Now here's where the story takes its most dramatic turn. And this is the part that genuinely sounds like it was invented for a movie. One man, working alone in a small shed behind his house in Osaka in 1958, changed the trajectory of food history. Momofuku Ando had spent years obsessing over a singular question. Could ramen be made in a way that required no cooking skill, no special equipment, and almost no time? He experimented relentlessly with dehydration techniques, frying methods, and seasoning formulas. Then, one day, he cracked it. By flash frying noodles in oil at extremely high temperatures, he could create a product that, when submerged in boiling water, would return to something remarkably close to fresh noodles. Nissin Chicken Ramen was born, and within months of release, it became the best-selling food product in Japan. People were losing their minds over it. Stores couldn't keep it on the shelves. Ando hadn't just invented a product, he had essentially invented an entirely new category of food. But Ando wasn't done. In 1971, he pushed the concept even further and created cup noodles, packaging the product in a styrofoam cup that could serve as both the cooking vessel and the bowl. You simply peeled back a lid, added hot water, waited 3 minutes, and you had a meal. The simplicity was almost confrontational. This was food so optimized for speed and convenience that it seemed almost futuristic. Cup noodles launched globally throughout the 1970s and 1980s, riding waves of economic change, urbanization, and the rise of cultures where time was increasingly the most precious resource anyone had. And this is where ramen's psychological genius really starts to show. Because unlike most foods that get simplified for mass consumption and lose something essential in the process, instant ramen somehow retained an emotional core. It was still hot. It was still soup. It still had that primal comfort that humans associate with being cared for. Food scientists and psychologists both point to the way warm liquids interact with our nervous systems. There's a genuine physiological response that signals safety and comfort. Ramen, even in its most stripped-down, 99-cent instant form, was still triggering those deep biological buttons. That's not an accident. That's a product that was engineered, consciously or not, to feel like home. Let's talk about the global spread, because this is where things get wild. By the 1990s and 2000s, ramen wasn't just surviving in new markets. It was adapting and mutating into something new everywhere it landed. In South Korea, spicy ramyeon became its own beast entirely, with heat levels that would make traditional Japanese ramen blush. In the Philippines and Indonesia, noodle products became so deeply embedded in local cuisine that people no longer think of them as imports at all. In the United States, the college dorm narrative became almost mythological, instant ramen as the rite of passage for anyone living on a budget. In 2012, a study found that instant noodles had surpassed instant coffee as the most popular convenience food item globally. Let that number sink in. And then something unexpected happened that nobody in the food industry predicted. Ramen went premium. Upscale ramen restaurants began emerging in major cities worldwide throughout the 2000s and into the 2010s. Chefs who had trained for decades were devoting their entire careers to mastering a single broth. In Tokyo, certain ramen shops developed years-long waiting lists. The Michelin Guide, the same organization that awards stars to restaurants charging hundreds of dollars per meal, began recognizing ramen establishments. A bowl of tonkotsu ramen in a serious restaurant can run you $25 to $40 in major Western cities today, and people line up gladly to pay it. The survival food had become a luxury experience, and somehow it managed to be both things simultaneously without any contradiction. There's a deeper lesson buried in this story that I think gets overlooked in most food history discussions. Ramen's conquest of the world wasn't really about noodles. It was about necessity meeting ingenuity at exactly the right historical moment, over and over again. Post-war Japan needed it to survive. Busy modern workers needed it for speed. Students needed it for affordability. Food adventurers needed it for depth and craftsmanship. Every time a new need emerged, ramen somehow had an answer already waiting. It's one of the most adaptable foods ever created by human civilization, and that adaptability is its superpower. There's also something worth acknowledging about what instant ramen specifically represents for people living in poverty around the world. In disaster zones, refugee camps, and communities experiencing food insecurity, instant noodles often serve as a critical nutritional lifeline. They have an extraordinary shelf life, require minimal preparation infrastructure, and provide enough calories to keep people functional. This is a food that continues to fulfill its original wartime promise, to keep people alive when other options disappear. That's not a small thing. That's profound. So, the next time you tear open that shiny packet and crumble those dried noodles into a pot, maybe take half a second to appreciate the absolutely insane chain of events that put that thing in your hand. Wars were fought, cities were rebuilt, one obsessive man spent years in a shed chasing an idea that everyone around him probably thought was ridiculous. Entire food systems were reorganized. An ingredient that began as street food served to people scraping by found its way onto Michelin-star menus and into survival kits and college dorms and five-star hotel kitchens, all in the same lifetime. Ramen didn't conquer the world by being fancy. It conquered the world by being exactly what people needed, exactly when they needed it. And honestly, that's a lesson worth sitting with long after the bowl is empty.